Your body glows, jellyfish live forever, and lightning's hotter than the sun. These wild facts will leave you speechless. In the dark, hidden chambers of a cave in southern France, a child left a message. Not one written in words or symbols, but a handprint. Pressed into soft limestone over 30,000 years ago, this mark is still there today, frozen in time. And it's not just one. Dozens of hand stencils, some from children, others from adults, line the walls of Chauvet Pont d'Arc Cave like a prehistoric gallery. Scientists believe these were created by blowing pigment over a hand pressed to the rock, leaving a negative image that's haunting in its clarity. This cave, sealed off by a landslide thousands of years ago, was only rediscovered in the 1990s. And what was found inside stunned archaeologists. Lifelike paintings of lions, rhinos, mammoths, and bears, alongside this very human detail. A child's hand with a slightly crooked finger. The level of detail in these images is so advanced, it's closer to Leonardo da Vinci than stick figures. They even used natural curves in the walls to create a 3D illusion. But here's the twist. One of the handprints matches the proportions of a boy no older than 10. It means this wasn't just an adult ritual site. Children were there, participating, creating, watching. The caves echo with the idea that maybe, just maybe, art was always part of us. Something humans didn't invent, but were born to do. And this makes that simple handprint far more than a smudge. It's a connection, a bridge across 300 centuries. Not just a trace of someone who once lived, but of someone who felt. Someone who wanted to leave something behind. Not a name, not a number, just a hand on the wall of the earth. They're smaller than a grain of salt and look like they crawled out of a science fiction movie. Meet the tardigrade, also called the water bear. A creature so tough, scientists once blasted it into outer space. And it came back alive. No suit, no oxygen, no protection from deadly radiation. Just floating out there, frozen in the vacuum of space. And it survived. Tardigrades don't just survive extreme cold. They've been boiled, frozen, zapped with massive radiation doses, dehydrated for years, and even exposed to pressure over 6 times what's found in the deepest ocean trench. Still alive. Their secret? When the environment gets extreme, they shut themselves down. They dry out, fold into a tight ball, and enter a state where all biological activity nearly stops, like hitting pause on life itself. And when conditions improve, they wake up and keep going. Some have been revived after over 30 years in this dry, frozen state. Scientists are now studying tardigrades to understand how they pull off this trick, and whether humans might one day benefit from their strange biology. The next time someone asks which animal is the toughest on Earth, just smile and say, it's the one you can barely see. You've probably heard the classic line, there are more stars in the sky than grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. But here's something that flips the script completely. There are more trees on Earth than stars in our galaxy. Astronomers estimate there are about 100 to 400 billion stars in the Milky Way. That's a mind-breaking number, no doubt. But a 21st century global tree count found something even more staggering. Earth is home to roughly 3 trillion trees. That's over 400 trees for every person alive. And they're not just sitting pretty. Trees breathe in carbon dioxide, give us oxygen, cool cities, house wildlife, and even influence rainfall patterns. The fact that Earth can outnumber an entire galaxy in living organisms rooted in soil, not sky, speaks volumes about the complexity of our own planet. From ancient forests in the Amazon to single pines clinging to rocky cliffs in California, trees are Earth's silent giants. And we're only just beginning to understand how deeply connected they are to our climate, health, and survival. Some creatures live for decades, some for just a few hours. But there's one tiny animal that figured out how to cheat death entirely. Meet Turritopsis dohrnii, better known as the immortal jellyfish. When threatened by starvation, injury, or even old age, this jellyfish doesn't die. It transforms. It reverts its cells back to an earlier stage of life, like rewinding a biological tape. Instead of going forward into decline, it moves backward. Its adult cells reshape into young ones, starting the life cycle all over again. It's like a butterfly, turning back into a caterpillar, and then doing it again, and again. Potentially forever. Scientists are still unlocking how this microscopic creature pulls off what seems impossible. If we understood how to copy this biological reset, it could rewrite everything we think we know about aging, medicine, and regeneration. It's not a fantasy, it's a real jellyfish, floating right now in the oceans of the world, quietly breaking every rule of life and time. All around us, hidden in plain sight, is a number that seems to shape life itself. It's called the golden ratio, and it's approximately 1.618. That number might not mean much at first, but once you know where to look, it's everywhere. In the spirals of seashells, the pattern of sunflower seeds, the structure of hurricanes, even the shape of galaxies. The golden ratio shows up in your own body too. The proportions between parts of your face, your fingers, even the length of your forearm to your hand often match this mysterious ratio. It's found in DNA, in the way double helixes twist, and in the branching of veins and lungs. Nature seems to favor this ratio not because it's pretty, but because it's efficient. It allows for maximum growth, balance, and strength with minimal waste. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci used it. Architects design with it. But nature? Nature was using it long before we even had words for numbers. It's like the universe has a hidden blueprint, and that pattern is written into everything, including you. It sounds like science fiction, but it's real. Your body gives off light, not metaphorically, literally. Scientists in Japan used ultra-sensitive cameras in a completely dark room and captured tiny bursts of visible light coming off human bodies. This light isn't thermal like infrared. It's visible light, just like the glow of a firefly, only much, much dimmer. The glow comes from biochemical reactions within your cells. When certain molecules react with oxygen, tiny particles of light, called photons, are emitted. It's called ultra-weak photon emission, and every single person emits it. The brightest areas? Your face, especially around the forehead, cheeks, and neck. But there's a twist. Your body's glow actually changes throughout the day. You shine the most in the late afternoon, and the least just before sunrise. We can't see this glow because it's about 1,000 times weaker than the human eye can detect. But it's there. Right now, you are glowing, not like a superhero, more like a silent light bulb powered by biology. And knowing that makes the ordinary body feel just a little more extraordinary. It's thinner than a human hair, but tougher than steel by weight. Spider silk is one of the strongest natural materials on Earth, and it's made by an animal no bigger than a coin. Scientists have tested it in labs and confirmed, ounce for ounce, some types of spider silk are tougher than Kevlar, the same material used in protective gear. It can stretch, absorb energy, and snap back into shape without breaking. So what gives it this incredible strength? It comes down to structure. Spider silk is made of protein strands with a combination of stiff, crystal-like regions and flexible chains. It's the perfect mix of hard and soft, giving it both durability and stretch. When a spider spins a web, it doesn't just make a trap, it creates a high-tech net that can stop fast-flying insects mid-air without snapping. That's why researchers are working to replicate it, not just for body armor, but for medical sutures, flexible electronics, and even building materials. The catch? We still can't make it as well as spiders do. No machine has matched the precise way they spin silk, one of the most advanced materials in nature made without fire, force, or factories. Just instinct and millions of years of quiet engineering. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there's a place so remote, the nearest humans are often astronauts in orbit. It's called Point Nemo, and it's the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, the spot farthest from any land on Earth. It's more than 1,600 miles from the nearest islands in any direction. No people live there, no planes fly over it, and few ships ever pass through. Just endless, silent water stretching to every horizon. Point Nemo is so isolated, space agencies use it as a spacecraft cemetery. When satellites or space stations reach the end of their mission, they are steered to crash into this watery graveyard, far from civilization. Over 250 pieces of space debris have ended their journey there, including parts of Russia's Mir station and several defunct cargo crafts. And if you thought it was just empty ocean, think again. The deep sea beneath Point Nemo is one of the least explored regions on the planet. Some scientists believe life there may be unlike anything we've seen, surviving in cold, crushing darkness for millions of years. In fact, strange sounds have been recorded near this spot, including the legendary deep-sea bloop noise once mistaken for a massive sea creature. The ocean keeps its secrets well, and Point Nemo might be the loneliest, most mysterious corner of it all. Beneath the surface of every forest, there's an invisible network that rivals the complexity of the internet. Trees and plants don't just sit quietly in the soil, they communicate. Not with sound or sight, but through underground connections made by fungi. This living network is known as the mycorrhizal web, or more casually, the wood wide web. Here's how it works. Fungi connect to plant roots and form long, thread-like structures called hyphae. These threads stretch out and link with the roots of other plants, creating vast underground networks. Through these fungal highways, trees can share nutrients, send warning signals, and even support struggling neighbors. When one tree is under attack from pests or disease, it can release chemical signals that travel through the network, alerting nearby plants to prepare their defenses. Some trees even send extra resources to their own offspring, favoring their children through this silent system. It's a mind-bending concept. Forests that behave less like groups of individual trees and more like cooperative communities, all connected by an ancient alliance with fungi. And this isn't fantasy. It's backed by modern biology, field experiments, and molecular studies. So the next time you walk through a forest, know this: the ground beneath your feet isn't just dirt. It's buzzing with life, with messages and nutrients traveling invisibly in all directions, like nature's own secret internet. When you think of ancient life on Earth, dinosaurs probably come to mind. But there's a creature that predates them, and even goes back before the first tree ever took root. Sharks. These ocean predators have been swimming through Earth's waters for over 400 million years. Trees? They didn't show up until about 50 million years later. That means sharks were already thriving when the land was mostly covered in low-lying ferns and mosses. They survived 5 mass extinctions, including the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. And while other species rose and fell, sharks kept adapting, some shrinking, some growing, some evolving into bizarre shapes we still discover today. Fossils show that early sharks didn't look too different from some modern ones. Their teeth, made of nearly indestructible material, are still found in cliffs and seabeds across the world. One extinct species, Megalodon, had teeth the size of a human hand and a bite force stronger than a T-Rex. Sharks have outlived empires, mountain ranges, and whole geological eras. They are survivors in the purest sense, and they've been patrolling the oceans since long before the first forest shaded the land. They may not rule the land, but in the sea they've held the crown for hundreds of millions of years. In the shadow of the pyramids and buried deep within Egypt's ancient tombs, archaeologists have uncovered skulls that don't quite match the human norm. These elongated skulls, stretched, smooth, and unusually shaped, have sparked debate for decades. Were they the result of cultural rituals, or is there something stranger going on? Some scholars point to cranial binding, a practice seen in ancient societies from Africa to South America. It involves wrapping a child's head tightly in cloth during early growth, reshaping the skull over time. It was often done for status, beauty, or religious reasons. And yes, some of the elongated skulls found in Egypt could be explained this way. But not all of them. A few skulls have features that seem too unusual, like missing cranial sutures, larger than average brain volume, or bone structures unlike those of typical humans. These traits don't easily fit with the results of binding. And here's where the mystery deepens. Similar skulls have been found across the globe, in regions with no contact between cultures. Some believe these individuals may have held elite or spiritual roles, possibly even being seen as otherworldly figures by their societies. Others have gone further, suggesting connections to ancient legends or beings not of this earth. While there's no verified evidence for anything beyond human explanation, the debate remains alive. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, none of it was born on Earth. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a dying star. Long before Earth existed, ancient stars exploded in supernovae, blasting their heavy elements across the galaxy. Those scattered remnants drifted through space, clumped into clouds, and eventually formed planets, oceans, and us. Scientists have confirmed it. About 97% of the atoms in the human body come from stardust. Elements like carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were created in cosmic furnaces under extreme pressure and temperature, then launched across the universe like glitter from a cosmic firework. When Carl Sagan said, "We are made of star stuff," it wasn't poetry, it was physics. You carry the ashes of stars in every breath you take and every heartbeat you feel. The next time you look at the night sky, just remember, you're not just looking up at space, you're looking into your own past. The stars aren't far away, they're already part of you. Deep beneath a mountain in northern Mexico lies a hidden chamber that looks like it belongs on another planet. It's called the Nazca Crystal Cave, and inside are some of the largest natural crystals ever found, some over 30 feet long and weighing more than 55 tons. They're so massive you can walk between them like trees in a frozen forest. The cave was discovered accidentally in the year 2000 by miners drilling for silver. What they found instead was a blistering hot chamber filled with selenite crystals formed over hundreds of thousands of years. The temperature inside can reach 136 degrees with nearly 100% humidity. So extreme that scientists can only stay inside for minutes at a time without special cooling suits. What makes it even more mysterious is how the crystals grew. The cave was once filled with mineral-rich water, heated by volcanic activity deep underground. Over time, molecules in the water slowly stacked into enormous structures, like nature building skyscrapers, molecule by molecule. Today, the cave is sealed off to protect these fragile giants from damage and exposure. It's a reminder that some of Earth's most alien landscapes aren't out in space. They're right beneath our feet, hiding in the dark. Scattered across North America, old reports speak of something strange buried in the earth. Enormous human skeletons, many over 7 feet tall, uncovered in burial mounds and ancient tombs. Newspapers from the 1800s and early 1900s recorded these finds in places like Wisconsin, Ohio, and West Virginia. Some remains were said to have massive jaws, double rows of teeth, or oversized skulls. They were often found alongside tools, jewelry, and pottery, suggesting a culture both advanced and lost. So what happened to them? That's where the mystery deepens. Many of these skeletons were reportedly sent to museums or scientific institutions, including the Smithsonian, but today, few physical specimens remain. Official explanations chalk these stories up to exaggeration, misidentified animal bones, or tall individuals mistaken for something more. Yet some researchers argue that not all the finds can be dismissed so easily. Skeptics say it's folklore. Others believe there may be something deliberately buried, not just in the ground, but in the records. Either way, the legend of the giants' graves refuses to die. Whether misunderstood history or something genuinely mysterious, these towering skeletons still raise a towering question. Did we once share this land with people very different from us? Or are we chasing shadows of stories too old to prove, yet too persistent to ignore? It lasts less than a second. It flashes from the sky in silence, then cracks the air with a roar. And yet, in that brief moment, a bolt of lightning releases a force so intense, it reaches temperatures of up to 54,000 degrees, 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Lightning isn't just electricity, it's raw plasma tearing through the atmosphere. When storm clouds build up enough electrical charge, they create a massive voltage difference between the cloud and the ground, or even between clouds. That energy breaks through the air, superheating it instantly and creating a narrow channel of ionized gas. The heat expands the air so fast it creates a shock wave. That's the thunder you hear. Each strike carries up to 1 billion volts of electricity and can light up the sky for miles. And it doesn't always strike just once. Some bolts hit the same spot multiple times in rapid succession. Lightning can split trees, melt metal, and carve glass-like tubes into sand called fulgurites. We think of fire and lava as nature's most intense forces, but lightning is on another level. Brief, unpredictable, and far more powerful than it looks. It's a reminder that even in something we've all seen, nature still hides extremes beyond belief. High above Saturn's North Pole spins one of the strangest weather systems in the solar system. A perfect 6-sided storm that has baffled scientists since it was first seen. It's called Saturn's hexagon, and it's nearly 20,000 miles wide, large enough to fit 4 Earths across. Unlike anything on our planet, this geometric hurricane has been swirling for decades, maybe even centuries. The shape isn't an illusion or a fluke of photography. It's a real sharp-edged hexagon of clouds, with each side nearly straight and angles that stay locked in place as the whole system spins like a giant wheel. At its center, a dark circular vortex acts as Saturn's north polar hurricane. The winds whip around at over 200 miles per hour, forming this surreal polygon in the upper atmosphere. Scientists believe it's caused by fluid dynamics, waves of different speeds colliding in the atmosphere and forming standing patterns. But even with advanced models, we still can't replicate its perfect symmetry here on Earth. The storm isn't static either. NASA's Cassini spacecraft captured changes in color and texture over time, hinting at mysterious seasonal effects. It's like nature designed a giant spinning symbol in the clouds, one that defies everything we thought we knew about planets and weather. While Jupiter shows off its great red spot, Saturn quietly hosts a storm shaped like geometry itself. If aliens exist in the ocean, they probably look like octopuses. With their soft, shape-shifting bodies and ability to squeeze through impossibly small gaps, these sea creatures are already strange. But their biology takes it even further. Octopuses don't just have one heart, they have three. Two of those hearts pump blood to the gills, while the third heart sends oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. But here's the twist. When an octopus swims, that main heart stops beating. It's part of why octopuses prefer crawling over jetting through the water. They literally tire themselves out with every burst of speed. And then there's the blood itself. It's not red like ours, it's blue. That's because octopuses use a copper-based molecule called hemocyanin to carry oxygen, instead of iron-rich hemoglobin. This gives their blood a bluish tint and helps them survive in deep, cold waters where oxygen is scarce. Combined with their ability to change color, solve puzzles, escape from locked tanks, and even mimic other animals, octopuses are easily some of the most bizarre and brilliant creatures on the planet. They don't just defy expectations, they rewrite the rules of what life can be. Your skeleton might feel solid and permanent, but it's actually one of the busiest parts of your body. Every day your bones are breaking down and rebuilding themselves, quietly, efficiently, without you ever noticing. In fact, about every 10 years, you get an almost entirely new skeleton. This process is called bone remodeling, and it's driven by two types of cells: osteoclasts, which break down old or damaged bone tissue, and osteoblasts, which build fresh bone in its place. It's not just maintenance, it's a full-time upgrade system. Your body strengthens areas under pressure, reshapes bones to adapt to new stresses, and constantly corrects tiny cracks before they turn into problems. And it starts early. In childhood, bones grow fast and are replaced even quicker. But even in adulthood, the system keeps working, replacing about 10% of your skeleton every year. If it didn't, bones would become brittle, unstable, and prone to injury. It's easy to think of bones as static, like concrete, but the truth is closer to a high-tech building that's always being reinforced from within. Silent construction crews working around the clock, repairing, reshaping, and making sure the structure holds strong, no matter what life throws at it.
High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, over 12,000 feet above sea level, lies a plateau that defies explanation. It's called Marawasi, a place where massive stones take the form of giant animals, human faces, strange beings, and symbols that don't match any known culture. These stone formations aren't just a few isolated shapes, they stretch across miles, carved into a forest of solid granite, sitting silently in the clouds. What makes Marawasi so unusual is the precision and repetition of these shapes. You walk through the plateau and suddenly, there's a lion's head. Turn the corner, and there's a figure that looks like an ancient astronaut, wearing what could be a helmet. Then you spot what some call the African Queen, her features carved with uncanny detail. Some even say there's a giant face with closed eyes and a mouth frozen mid-scream, buried halfway in the earth. Now here's where it gets even stranger. From the ground, some of the stones seem like random boulders. But when viewed from a certain angle or elevation, the forms become crystal clear, almost as if they were designed to be seen from above. That's led some to believe Marawasi could be a message to the sky, or even a marker for something not of this earth. Theories range from an ancient lost civilization with unknown tools, to travelers from beyond Earth. Some claim the plateau holds a kind of energy. The electromagnetic field here behaves differently, and people report visions, lucid dreams, and a sense of being watched. Scientists haven't confirmed any of that, but it hasn't stopped visitors from coming in search of answers. If these stones were shaped by human hands, it would mean a highly advanced culture existed long before the Inca, a culture capable of shaping solid granite on a massive scale, and one that left behind no written records, only stone. And if they're natural, then nature somehow created a place filled with familiar forms that seem too intentional to be random.
Find Peter Parker!
A few years ago, archaeologists in Cusco made a discovery that quickly drew international attention: human skulls from pre-Columbian Peru, with small, flat metal plates embedded directly into the bone. These weren't decorative or ritual items. They were surgically placed inside fractured skulls, precisely where injuries would have occurred. Even more puzzling, the surrounding bone showed signs of healing. That means these individuals survived the procedures. And here's where it gets wild. Some of these implants were made of rare, non-corrosive metals. Modern surgeons use titanium or stainless steel, But these pre-Inca civilizations supposedly didn't have access to refined metal or surgical tools. So how did they manage to place implants with that level of precision and success? Some experts now think they were performing a form of primitive neurosurgery, but no one can explain the metallurgy. Others believe they may have understood bone regeneration better than we do today. A few go even further, suggesting outside influence, maybe knowledge passed down from a civilization we've never identified. The skulls now sit in museum collections, silent but unsettling. Were these just the earliest surgeons, or is there more to the story than we're being told? In the remote cliffs of southern Peru, near the ancient stronghold of Huacrapucara, explorers have found something that doesn't match any known style of Inca art. It's not a fortress wall, not a ceremonial carving, it's a weathered stone with a face. But not just any face. This one has narrow, slanted eyes, no clear mouth, and a warped structure that doesn't look fully human. Locals have nicknamed it El Rostro del Otro Mundo, the face from another world. It's carved into an isolated rock, away from the main ruins. No signs point to it, no markers explain it. But once you notice it, it's hard to forget. The stone appears to have smooth, deliberate lines, the kind that don't usually happen by chance. Some archaeologists say it's just a coincidence of erosion, others aren't so sure. What makes this find stand out is how unnatural it looks, even compared to known mythological figures. It doesn't resemble gods or animals from Andean mythology. If anything, it looks like a stylized creature, or a mask, with a shape that suggests something beyond normal human design. Some believe it could be part of a larger object that broke off long ago. Others say it was intentionally hidden, placed here for a reason we've forgotten. And there's a theory that keeps resurfacing, that it represents a being that ancient cultures either saw or imagined, a visitor maybe, something they didn't have the words to describe, so they carved what they saw. There's no definitive answer, but the face still sits there, untouched, waiting. And the more you stare at it, the more you wonder what kind of presence inspired it, and whether it was ever meant to be found. In the Paracas desert of southern Peru, archaeologists unearthed something that immediately caused a stir. Dozens of ancient skulls, long and unnaturally stretched. These aren't just examples of cranial deformation, a practice known to several ancient cultures. The Paracas skulls are different, they're larger, heavier. Some have a cranial volume up to 25% bigger than a typical human skull. And the real shock came when geneticists got involved. Samples were sent for DNA testing and the results weren't what anyone expected. According to researchers, parts of the DNA didn't match anything in the existing human genome database. Some fragments showed mutations never seen in any known human, ancient or modern. That led to speculation that went far beyond the academic world. Was this another branch of humanity we've never encountered? Or was it something else entirely? Skeptics say the mutations are just degradation from age or contamination, but even mainstream scientists admit that these skulls are among the strangest ever recorded. The structure of the foramen magnum, the opening at the base of the skull, is in a different place. Some of the skulls have only one parietal plate instead of two. That's not something you get from binding a baby's head. Whether these skulls belong to an unknown human population, a now extinct hominid group, or something even stranger, no one has answered the question that really matters. Who were they? And where did they come from? Lake Titicaca is already one of the highest and largest lakes in the world, sitting nearly 12,500 feet above sea level. But its most unbelievable secrets lie hidden below the surface. In recent decades, divers and sonar mapping teams have discovered what appears to be the remains of massive man-made structures beneath the lake. We're talking about paved roads, stone terraces, long walls, and even the ruins of what might have been temples. Some of these submerged structures line up with Inca legends, stories of a golden city that once stood near the lake but was swallowed by the water after a disaster. The Incas believed this lake was the birthplace of their gods, and now we're starting to understand why. These aren't random boulders. Some walls are built with precision stonework, the kind you'd expect to see in Cusco or Machu Picchu, not under a body of water. The structures were first spotted by local fishermen and later confirmed by scientific teams. One sonar image shows what looks like a pyramid-shaped platform. Another area contains what resembles a sunken causeway, leading from the shore into deeper water. If these ruins predate the Inca, and some believe they do by centuries or more, then this could be evidence of an advanced culture lost to time, literally buried beneath the waves. The question is, was it a flood? Was it a shift in tectonic plates? Or was something else responsible for dragging a whole city underwater?
Find Peter Parker!
In a remote desert canyon in southern Peru, thousands of ancient petroglyphs are carved into volcanic rock. This place is called Toro Muerto, Dead Bull, and it's one of the largest rock art sites in the world. Over 5,000 stones are covered in etchings that include animals, people, strange symbols, and figures that some say don't belong in any known culture. Many of the carvings show humanoid beings with huge eyes and oversized heads. Others depict what looks like advanced tools or abstract geometrical shapes that resemble antennas, spacecraft, or even landing pads. While mainstream archaeologists date the site to around 1,000 years ago, no one truly knows what some of the symbols mean or who made them. Some of the designs are found nowhere else in South America. That's led a few researchers to suggest that Toro Muerto was a kind of ancient meeting point. A message board, maybe even a map. The arid climate has preserved the carvings incredibly well, and every year new figures are uncovered that raise more questions than they answer. One theory gaining popularity online is that Toro Muerto may have been part of a sky-watching culture, possibly a group that communicated with something above. While there's no direct evidence of alien contact, it's the sheer volume and strangeness of the images that keeps people guessing. Some of these carvings look like they were meant to be seen from high above. What were they trying to say? And more importantly, to who? When images of strange mummified bodies surfaced from a cave near Nazca, Peru, the internet exploded. These weren't typical ancient remains. The bodies were small, with long fingers, massive eye sockets, and just 3 fingers on each hand. They looked like something from a science fiction film, but they were real. The controversy began immediately. Were they ancient humans with unusual deformities, or something else entirely? Independent researchers and scientists from multiple countries examined the mummies. Carbon dating placed some of them at over 1,000 years old. CT scans showed internal organs. These weren't fake dolls. But the bodies had anomalies that didn't match known human biology. The bone structure, the joints, even the skin, all seemed slightly off. One body was found to have eggs inside it, sparking even more theories. Official institutions stayed cautious. Peru's government launched investigations and major museums distanced themselves from the finds. But researchers pushed on, claiming these beings could represent an unknown species, either a lost branch of humanity or something non-human that lived here long before we arrived. So far, no clear answer has emerged. What's certain is this: these mummies don't match anything found elsewhere in the world, and whatever they are, they were intentionally buried, wrapped, and preserved. Someone wanted them remembered, or hidden. On the outskirts of Cusco, the fortress of Saqsaywaman stands as one of the most mysterious structures in the world. Towering stone walls made of giant limestone blocks fit together with such precision, not even a blade of grass can slide between them. No mortar was used. The blocks weigh up to 200 tons, and they were somehow moved uphill, then locked into place with impossible accuracy. Modern engineers admit they couldn't replicate the construction with current technology. The shapes are complex. Many stones have more than 12 angles. The surfaces are polished and carved to interlock perfectly with their neighbors, forming a wall that has withstood massive earthquakes without shifting. How did the builders shape and move stones this massive? Some believe the Inca had knowledge of a softening agent, a plant-based liquid that could make stone malleable. Others think acoustic technology was involved, using sound waves to reduce weight. And then there's the fringe theory that refuses to go away: anti-gravity. Some researchers argue the Incas, or their predecessors, had access to lost technology that could manipulate mass, a forgotten science we still don't understand. Whatever the truth is, no written records explain how Saqsaywaman was built. No blueprints, no tools left behind, just the stones, perfectly fitted, defiantly silent, and unlike anything else on Earth. Legends from the Andes speak of a sacred object known as the Golden Disk of the Sun, a large, perfectly round plate of solid gold once kept inside the Temple of the Sun in Cusco. This wasn't just decoration. The disk was said to channel divine energy from the sun itself, and Inca priests used it for healing, rituals, and possibly something more advanced: energy manipulation. When the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they heard rumors about this disk. It supposedly vanished before they could seize it. Some say it was smuggled out and hidden in the mountains. Others believe it was taken to Lake Titicaca and dropped into the depths to keep it safe. No one's ever found it. Descriptions claim the disc could reflect sunlight in ways that lit entire chambers. It had strange symbols etched around the edges. Not known Inca script, but something older. Some legends even describe it being able to open portals or communicate with celestial beings. What gives the story weight is how seriously the Incas guarded the object. The Temple of the Sun, now partly beneath the Church of Santo Domingo, was their most sacred site. And for them to hide the disc at all cost tells us this wasn't just ceremonial gold. It meant something. Whether it's buried, submerged, or still locked away in a cave, the golden disc's disappearance remains one of Peru's most unsolved mysteries.
Find Peter Parker!
Deep inside the dense Amazon rainforest, somewhere east of the Andes, lies the rumored location of Paititi, a lost city built from stone and lined with gold. For centuries, explorers, archaeologists, and even treasure hunters have searched for it. Some disappeared, others returned with strange carvings, chunks of stone walls, and blurry photos of what could be ancient structures swallowed by the jungle. The legend of Paititi comes from both Inca and Amazonian oral traditions. It was described as a sacred city of knowledge and wealth, a safe haven where the last Inca priests and nobles fled during the Spanish conquest. Supposedly they carried treasures and sacred artifacts with them, including golden statues and scrolls made of metal. Modern expeditions using drones and satellite scans have picked up unusual patterns in the forest, shapes too geometric to be natural. In one region, square foundations, straight paths, and low mounds were spotted beneath the tree cover. Indigenous guides claim those areas are cursed or protected by spirits. No one's proven the city exists, but there's growing evidence that something big once stood out there. Some believe Paititi wasn't just a refuge. It may have been a spiritual or even technological center. A place where knowledge from an older world was preserved. Whatever it wasn't just about gold. It was about protecting something that still hasn't been found. Beneath the highlands of northern Peru lies one of the most baffling ancient sites in the Americas, Chavin de Huantar. Above ground it's already impressive, massive stone temples and plazas built over 2,000 years ago. But it's what's underground that stirs the most curiosity, a maze of tight dark tunnels carved deep into the earth. And they're not random. The layout of the underground chambers seems engineered for something specific. Some paths lead nowhere. Others bend sound in strange ways. Explorers have stood in one room and whispered, only for someone far away in another corridor to hear it clearly. In others, sounds echo in unnatural patterns, almost like the stone is amplifying vibrations. At the heart of the labyrinth stands the Lanzon, a tall, menacing granite monolith carved with the face of a deity, half human, half beast. No one knows what rituals took place here, but the layout, acoustics, and art suggest altered states of consciousness. Some believe the tunnels were designed to disorient visitors, making them more open to spiritual visions or contact with other realms. Modern acoustical engineers have studied the site and confirmed that the sound dynamics weren't accidental. That opens a bigger question: who built this underground structure, and why go to such extremes just to manipulate sound and space? Chavin might be far older than we think, and its hidden chambers may still be holding answers we're not ready for. Ollantaytambo is already impressive. Stone terraces built into the side of a steep mountain, massive walls that align with solstices. But the most confusing part isn't what's built, it's what was left behind. Just outside the fortress, scattered across a slope, are enormous stones that look like they were halfway through a process, as if a construction project suddenly stopped. Some of these blocks weigh over 50 tons. They were cut, shaped, and polished, then somehow transported from a quarry miles away across a river and uphill. The cuts are clean, the edges are sharp, but then everything halts. The stones are just sitting there, unfinished, unused, as if the builders disappeared overnight. Why was the work abandoned? Was it an invasion, a catastrophe, or did something else happen that made them leave in a hurry? Some theories say the unfinished stones were too difficult to move and had to be left behind. Others think there was a sudden halt due to political or spiritual reasons. What keeps this site fascinating is how the abandoned stones offer a glimpse into techniques we still don't fully understand. How were they moved? How were they cut so precisely? We don't see tool marks like you'd expect, and that raises the question: what kind of technology or knowledge allowed a civilization to manipulate stone on such a massive scale, then vanish before finishing the job? At first glance, the Inca Quipu looks like a cluster of colored strings tied with random knots, but this simple-looking artifact may be one of the most advanced data systems ever created in the ancient world. The Incas didn't write with symbols, they used knots. And now, researchers are discovering that quipus weren't just for counting. They might have stored language, history, and even music. Each knot, color, and string placement has meaning. Some strings recorded census data, others tracked crop inventories, tax records, and calendar systems, but a few quipus don't match any known accounting system. They're organized in ways that suggest storytelling, sentence structure, or even encoded messages. Some researchers now believe quipus were part of a larger communication network, a decentralized system that let officials send data across the empire. And since quipu users were trained specialists, it's possible entire libraries of information once existed, all made of string. Unfortunately, when the Spanish arrived, most quipus were destroyed. Today, fewer than 1,000 survive. Decoding them has been slow, but every year, new progress is made. If quipus truly stored language and culture, then much of Inca history may still be locked away, not in books or tablets, but in chords and knots that haven't been fully read yet.
Find Peter Parker!
On Lake Titicaca, the Euros people live on floating islands, not rafts, but entire villages made from bundled reeds. These islands are handmade, anchored to the lakebed, and completely self-sustaining, and they've been here for centuries. While some see them as a tourist attraction today, their origins reveal something far deeper: survival engineering on a level that still impresses scientists. The Euros built these islands to escape hostile neighbors. But they didn't just float aimlessly. They developed methods to manage buoyancy, stability, and even island expansion. The reeds are stacked in layers, constantly replenished. Homes, boats, even watchtowers are built from the same material. The result? A mobile civilization that could literally relocate if threatened. Modern engineers who've studied the islands say the system is surprisingly advanced. The reed foundation distributes weight evenly and adjusts naturally with water levels. In harsh weather, the islands flex rather than break, a form of natural shock absorption. And despite the simple materials, the Euros have managed to maintain this ecosystem for generations. While other civilizations built castles or walls, the Euros built the lake. And they're still doing it today, using ancient knowledge that modern science is just starting to appreciate. Near the edge of Lake Titicaca stands a massive, flat rock wall carved with a strange feature: a perfectly rectangular doorway cut into the stone. It leads nowhere. No chamber, no tunnel. Just a shallow indentation framed by strange grooves. Locals call it Aramumuru, the Gate of the Gods. And it's surrounded by legends. Some believe it was a ceremonial site. Others say it's a literal portal, a doorway to another world. Visitors often report feeling dizzy, disoriented, or even hearing humming sounds near the door. Some say placing your forehead against the stone creates visions. Geologists say the shape is natural erosion, but others point out the symmetry and flatness are too perfect for nature alone. Whatever its purpose, Aramumuru continues to draw curiosity. It's remote, surrounded by silence, and carved into a rock formation that seems out of place in the highlands. The question remains, was this a symbolic gateway to the spiritual world or a real one to somewhere else? One of the strangest theories about ancient Peruvian engineering involves a lost formula, a plant-based compound that could turn hard stone soft. Locals have long spoken about it. Inca legends mention piedra liquida, or liquid stone, used to mold rocks like clay before setting them into massive walls. The story gained traction when researchers found tool marks inconsistent with chiseling. Some stones at Saqsaywaman, Ollantaytambo, and other sites show melted edges, almost as if they were poured into place. Even more strange, some stones seem fused together with no signs of cutting or grinding. Modern chemists have tried to replicate the process using native plants. One particular species, known for softening bones and even dissolving glass, has shown promise. Could it have been used to weaken limestone or granite temporarily? We still don't know. If the Incas or their ancestors had this knowledge, it would explain how they achieved such tight-fitting stones without metal tools. It would also suggest a level of chemical understanding that predates known science by centuries. The problem is, if the formula existed, it's gone. No texts, no records, only rumors, and stones that look like they were melted by hand. William James Sidis wasn't just a child prodigy, he was one of the smartest humans to ever live. By the age of 2, he could read and type in English. By 5, he had taught himself Latin, Greek, French, Russian, German, and Hebrew. At 11 years old, he entered Harvard University and gave lectures on four-dimensional physics. Scientists could mentally calculate incredibly large numbers in seconds, and reportedly had an IQ somewhere between 250 and 300, higher than Einstein or Hawking. They say it's the highest IQ ever recorded. But despite his unbelievable intellect, he craved privacy. He walked away from fame and lived a quiet, reclusive life, working simple jobs and writing under fake names. His story is as mysterious as it is brilliant. Terence Tao didn't just excel at math, he practically spoke its language from birth. At age 2 he was teaching himself to read. By 8 he was working through high school math. At 9 he scored an incredible 760 out of 800 on the math section of the SAT. By 20 he had earned his PhD from Princeton. And somewhere in the middle of all that, he won a gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad when he was only 13. Tao's estimated IQ is around 230, one of the highest ever recorded. But what's even more interesting is how he uses it. Instead of focusing on just one specialty, Tao has worked across dozens of mathematical fields: number theory, algebraic geometry, harmonic analysis, and things most people have never even heard of. He has over 300 published papers, and is known in the math world as someone who quietly solves problems that have stumped experts for decades. He's not flashy, he doesn't go on TV, he rarely does interviews. Tao once said math just feels like solving puzzles, and that's what he enjoys. It's not about proving how smart he is, it's about the process. And maybe that's what makes him so compelling. He doesn't try to be a genius, he just is. Kim Ung-yong was reading Korean, Japanese, English, and German by the time he was 3. At 4, he was writing poetry and solving differential equations. When he was 8 years old, NASA brought him to the United States to work with their scientists. That's not an exaggeration. He was attending college-level physics lectures before most kids were learning how to multiply. Kim's IQ has been measured at over 210. For years it was considered the highest ever officially recorded. The media called him a living calculator. Scientists called him a once-in-a-century mind. He was on national television in Korea, solving complex equations in front of stunned audiences, before he was even tall enough to reach the chalkboard without a step stool. But what makes Kim's story really stand out is what he did next. After years of public attention and academic pressure, he walked away. He returned to South Korea, rejected the spotlight, and chose to live a normal life. He studied civil engineering and later became a professor. People couldn't understand why he turned down fame and high-profile jobs. But Kim explained it simply: he wanted peace and freedom. In a world that measures success by fame and fortune, Kim's story is a powerful reminder that true intelligence also means knowing what you want, no matter how brilliant your mind might be. Leonardo da Vinci didn't just dabble in a few areas, he mastered almost everything he touched. Art, anatomy, engineering, astronomy, physics, botany, architecture. His notebooks are packed with over 13,000 pages of sketches, inventions, scientific ideas, and wild concepts that were centuries ahead of their time. He designed flying machines 400 years before the airplane, made accurate anatomical drawings without formal medical training, and even conceptualized a type of tank and a mechanical knight, basically an early robot. Most people know him as the painter of the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, but those were just the tip of the iceberg. Leonardo's mind worked in every direction at once. He took things apart just to see how they worked. He studied the motion of water, the flight paths of birds, the mechanics of muscles. He was always curious, not just about one subject, but about everything. It's estimated his IQ was over 200, and it shows in how he thought and how he created. What's most incredible is that many of his inventions weren't fully understood until long after his death. Some of his ideas were buried in journals, written backward in mirror writing, waiting for the world to catch up. Leonardo didn't just have a brilliant mind, he had a futuristic one. He saw possibilities everywhere. While others saw the world as it was, he sketched what it could become. Alan Turing didn't just break codes, he changed how humanity understands thinking itself. During World War II, the enemy was using a powerful encryption device called the Enigma machine to send military messages. These codes shifted daily and were seen as impossible to crack. Turing believed there had to be a solution, and built one. His invention, the bombe, became one of the first machines capable of performing complex automated logic. It didn't just save lives, it was the beginning of modern computing, but that was just the start. Turing didn't stop at decoding messages, he imagined a future where machines could actually think. In the 1930s, long before the word computer meant anything to the world, Turing developed the concept of a universal machine that could perform any task, given the right input. That idea became the foundation for every computer today. Laptops, phones, servers, all of it. He laid the groundwork for artificial intelligence before it had a name. He later proposed the Turing test, a challenge to see if a machine could imitate human intelligence so well that a person couldn't tell the difference. That single idea still guides AI research to this day. From chatbots to virtual assistants to self-learning software, we're living in a world shaped by his vision. Turing's estimated IQ was around 185, but his genius wasn't just in solving hard problems. It was in asking the right questions. What if machines could think? What if thought itself could be decoded? He saw computers not as tools, but as minds in the making. And today, with AI becoming a part of daily life, we're only just beginning to catch up with his imagination. Michael Kearney's story reads like fiction, but every part of it is real. He started talking before he could walk, reading books before he turned one, and breezing through math while most toddlers were still figuring out shapes and colors. By the time he was 4 years old, he had already finished high school. At 6, he graduated college with a degree in anthropology, making him the youngest person in the world to ever earn a college diploma. His IQ has been estimated as high as 325, which is almost hard to believe. But when you hear what he accomplished, it starts to make sense. By his teens, he'd earned several more degrees in chemistry, computer science, and geology. But Michael wasn't just a genius on paper. He was quick-witted, curious, and full of energy. He loved trivia and even won over $1 million on game shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Gold Rush. Most people with IQs that high live in labs or lecture halls. Michael, on the other hand, brought his brilliance into everyday life. And perhaps that's what makes him so fascinating. He wasn't forced into the spotlight, he enjoyed it, but on his own terms. He didn't just sit in classrooms, he explored, played, competed, and kept learning for the fun of it. Some child prodigies grow up overwhelmed by pressure, but Michael found a way to balance brilliance with joy. He's living proof that genius doesn't always have to be serious. It can be bold, exciting, and even entertaining. Nikola Tesla didn't just invent things, he imagined entire futures. Tesla was responsible for creating the alternating current system that powers our homes and cities today. While others were still figuring out basic electricity, Tesla was already designing wireless energy systems, early versions of radio, and even blueprints for devices that looked like today's smartphones. Tesla had a photographic memory and could visualize inventions in his head without needing to sketch them out. He often said he could see his machines running in 3D before ever building them. That kind of mental precision allowed him to create technologies that seemed more like science fiction than reality. He once lit up 200 wireless light bulbs from a distance, without using wires, over 100 years ago. At the time, most people didn't even understand how electricity worked. He held over 300 patents and had ideas for everything from bladeless turbines to death rays. But Tesla wasn't interested in money or fame, he was chasing ideas. That made him a poor businessman but an unmatched visionary. He gave up fortunes just to keep experimenting. He also had an unusual daily routine, walking exactly 8 miles a day, solving problems in his head during long walks, and surviving on very little sleep. Many of the technologies we rely on today, radio waves, wireless communication, remote control, all trace back to Tesla's imagination. While he died alone and nearly forgotten, the world eventually caught up. Today, his name is on electric cars, scientific units, and global tech companies. Tesla didn't just light up buildings, he lit up ideas, and some of those ideas are still charging forward into the future. Grigori Perelman is the kind of genius that doesn't come around often. With an IQ estimated above 200, he solved the legendary Poincare conjecture, a complex math problem that stood unsolved for over a century. It was so important that the Clay Mathematics Institute offered a $1 million prize to anyone who could crack it. Perelman didn't just solve it, he solved it alone, without working at a major university or chasing headlines. Then, when the world tried to reward him, he simply said no. He turned down the $1 million prize, just like that. He also rejected the Fields Medal, considered the highest honor in mathematics. His reason? He said he wasn't interested in money or fame. For him, the solution itself was enough. The truth was the reward. That stunned not just the public, but the global math community. In a world where most people chase recognition, Perelman walked away from all of it. He now lives quietly, avoiding the spotlight completely. He doesn't teach, doesn't tour, and rarely speaks to the press. His lifestyle is modest and by choice. He's not missing, he's just not interested in being seen. What makes Perlman unforgettable isn't just his intellect, it's his refusal to play by the rules of status and reward. He proved that real genius doesn't need applause or prize money. Sometimes the smartest people are the ones who solve the biggest problems, then disappear. Marilyn Vos Savant once held the title for the highest recorded IQ in the world, an astonishing 228. Her intelligence wasn't just impressive on paper, it became a national topic when she began writing a column in Parade magazine, where readers would send her riddles, math puzzles, and logic problems to solve. And week after week, she solved them all. But one question made her a household name: the Monty Hall problem. It was a probability puzzle that most people, including many math professors, got completely wrong. Marilyn gave the correct answer and the backlash was huge. Letters flooded in telling her she didn't understand basic probability. But as it turned out, she was right, and the critics were wrong. She didn't just solve the problem, she proved to the world that even experts can miss the mark, and that clear logic doesn't always line up with what people think is common sense. Her brilliance didn't stop at puzzles. Marilyn has written books on logic, education, and human thinking. She speaks and writes about intelligence not as something distant or unrelatable, but as a skill that people can improve. She's used her IQ not just to impress but to teach. What makes Marilyn Vos Savant unique is how she brought extreme intelligence into the public eye, and made it relatable. She didn't hide it. She answered questions from curious kids and skeptical adults alike. She made smart cool, and she did it in a way that invited people to think, question, and learn right alongside her. Christopher Hirata was solving problems most people never encounter, before he even hit his teens. With an estimated IQ of 225, he was already making headlines at age 12 for working with NASA on plans to colonize Mars. While most kids his age were figuring out algebra, Christopher was helping scientists calculate how to get humans to another planet, not in a simulation, not in a classroom, at an actual government agency. By age 13, he became the youngest American to win a gold medal at the International Physics Olympiad. At 14, he started working at the California Institute of Technology. At 18, he was conducting research for his PhD at Princeton. The speed of his academic career wasn't just fast, it was otherworldly. Teachers and researchers described him as someone who didn't just grasp complex ideas, but could expand on them in ways that even professionals hadn't considered. What's fascinating is how natural it all seemed for him. He once explained dark energy, the force thought to be expanding the universe, with the kind of ease most people reserve for explaining how to make a sandwich. He didn't make science seem intimidating, he made it feel like a set of elegant puzzles that were waiting to be solved. Now, a respected professor and physicist, Christopher Hirata, works in fields most people can't even pronounce. But what's most interesting isn't just how young he started, it's how much he continues to contribute. For him, intelligence was never about proving anything. It was simply the beginning of something bigger. Christopher Langan has often been called the smartest man in America, with an IQ estimated between 195 and 210. His intelligence is off the charts, but what really sets him apart is where his story unfolds. Not in the halls of an elite university, but in small towns, on horse ranches, and even working as a nightclub bouncer. While most high IQ individuals chase degrees and titles, Langan chose a very different path. From a young age, his brain worked on another level. He was reading by age 3, teaching himself advanced math and physics as a teenager, and scoring a perfect SAT score despite reportedly falling asleep during part of the test. Langan's understanding of complex systems, from cosmology to logic, isn't just academic. He built his own theory of the universe. He calls it the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe, or CTMU. It's a bold attempt to unite consciousness and physics into one framework, something even professional scientists hesitate to tackle. What makes Langan fascinating isn't just the size of his intellect, it's how he uses it. He's never fit into a traditional academic mold. Instead, he's lived life on his own terms, outside of institutions, developing theories independently, and often with little to no support. He believes that intelligence without wisdom is wasted, and that being smart isn't enough. You have to think for yourself, challenge the system, and not be afraid to be different. Langan's story is proof that genius doesn't always wear a lab coat or sit behind a podium. Sometimes it's in plain sight, quiet, unconventional, and thinking far beyond what most people can even begin to understand. Stephen Hawking's brilliance wasn't just in his brain, it was in his ability to keep going, no matter what stood in his way. With an IQ estimated between 160 and 180, he became one of the most famous scientists in the world, reshaping how we understand time, space, and black holes. But what made his journey truly remarkable is that he did it all while battling a disease that gradually took away his ability to move or speak. Diagnosed with ALS at just 21, doctors told him he had only a few years to live. Instead, he lived for more than 50, and in that time, he changed the face of physics. His work on black hole radiation, now known as Hawking radiation, completely redefined how scientists understand these mysterious objects. He made groundbreaking contributions to the theory of the Big Bang, quantum mechanics, and the structure of the universe, all while communicating through a single cheek muscle and a speech-generating device. Hawking's best-selling book, A Brief History of Time, brought deep, complex science into millions of homes. It was written in plain language so that anyone, regardless of background, could get a glimpse into how the universe works. And people listened. It stayed on bestseller lists for years, and sold millions of copies worldwide. What made Stephen Hawking so powerful wasn't just what he knew, it was how he shared it. He made people care about science. He showed that a brilliant mind could survive, and even thrive, inside a body that wasn't cooperating. And he proved more than anything that intellect is measured not only by what you know, but by what you do with what you have. Judith Polgar wasn't just great at chess, she changed the game forever. She became the strongest female chess player in history, breaking records and crushing stereotypes from a young age. Judith didn't play in women-only tournaments. She took on the best of the best, men who had dominated the sport for decades, and beat them. That included world champions like Garry Kasparov, Anatoly Karpov, and Magnus Carlsen. She didn't just compete with legends, she defeated them. Trained from childhood by her father in a highly focused educational experiment, Judith was solving complex positions while most kids were still learning the rules of the game. By the age of 12, she was ranked among the top 100 players in the world. At 15, she became the youngest grandmaster at the time, breaking Bobby Fischer's record. Her style was fearless, aggressive, and creative. She played to win, not just to hold her own. What made her stand out wasn't just her moves, it was her mindset. She wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. She just loved the game. Judith once said, "Chess is 99% tactics," and she played like it. Bold, sharp, and always thinking several steps ahead. Her games were filled with clever sacrifices and powerful comebacks, making her one of the most exciting players to watch. Judith Polgar didn't just earn a seat at the table, she flipped the board. She opened the door for future generations to think bigger, push harder, and ignore limits others try to place on them. Her story is about more than chess. It's about genius, determination, and rewriting the rules on your own terms. Carl Friedrich Gauss wasn't just a math prodigy, he was a once-in-a-millennium mind. With an estimated IQ between 250 and 300, he's often called the Prince of Mathematicians for a reason. His genius showed up shockingly early. At just 3 years old, he corrected his father's math while watching him do payroll. By 7, he stunned his teacher by instantly adding every number from 1 to 100 in seconds, without a calculator, without paper. He had figured out a formula on the spot that's still taught in schools today. Gauss didn't stop at math. He made groundbreaking discoveries in physics, astronomy, statistics, and even magnetism. He predicted the orbit of an asteroid so precisely that when it reappeared, it was exactly where he said it would be. He helped develop the method of least squares, which laid the foundation for modern data science. He invented new types of geometry, improved the compass, and even contributed to cryptography. And this was in the early 1800s, without modern technology. What made Gauss different wasn't just his ability to understand numbers, it was how he made complex ideas look simple. He didn't just solve problems, he polished them until they felt like magic tricks. His notebooks were filled with solutions so elegant that mathematicians still study them today just to understand how he thought. Gauss was quiet, focused, and intensely private, but his brain never stopped working. He believed math was the language of the universe, and he spoke it fluently. Even now, centuries later, his formulas, theories, and methods are used in engineering, astronomy, and science classrooms around the world. He wasn't just ahead of his time, he was in a league of his own. Edith Stern was reading before most kids could speak. By the age of 1, she had already memorized the alphabet and was reading books designed for older children. At 5, she was tackling high school math. By 12, she entered college. And by 15, she was teaching college-level courses in mathematics. Her estimated IQ of 203 placed her in one of the highest intelligence brackets ever recorded, and she didn't waste a second of it. But Edith didn't just impress teachers. She became a driving force in technology. After finishing her education, she joined IBM and quickly stood out as one of the most innovative minds in the company. Over the years, she was granted more than 100 patents in areas ranging from telecommunications to healthcare technology. Her work has helped improve how patients are monitored in hospitals and how communication systems function around the world. Unlike many prodigies who fade from the spotlight, Stern transitioned from being a child genius to becoming a major figure in science and engineering. She didn't chase headlines or fame, she focused on solutions. In meetings, labs, and development teams, her ideas shaped the kind of tech that quietly powers everyday life. What makes Edith Stern remarkable is how smoothly she transformed from a classroom legend into a real-world innovator. Her mind has always been focused on the future, how to make life better, faster, safer. She didn't just grow up gifted, she grew up determined. And through her work, she's helped create systems and tools that continue to serve millions of people worldwide, even if most have no idea who's behind them. That's a different kind of brilliance, the kind that speaks through results. These minds didn't just break records, they redefined what human intelligence can do. From solving ancient puzzles to shaping the future, their genius continues to impact the world every day. That's about it. Do you consider yourself smart? Write in the comments, and if you know, write your IQ score there too. For more useful information, watch other videos.